Welcome to 360 Sports Network Special Edition. This is the Coaching Carousel edition. With me tonight are our expert analysts of James Dotson and Alex DeLaverson. Gentlemen, how goes it on that wheel of misfortune?
Coaching searches, coaching changes. It's one of my things, so I'm definitely having a good time. So can't complain.
Sure. Speak for yourself, man. I feel like with all these coaching changes out there that I might be on the hot seat. You guys aren't trying to fire me now, are you?
Well, no. But let's go over the list of these people that have made their sudden exits, either by fate or by fortune, or by fate and fortune. The top three people that were probably the most anticipated losing their job throughout the entire season, as to the network pundits. You have Andy Reid, Norv Turner, and Lovie Smith. They were talking about pretty much all season that if they did not have a good season, they would be gone, and yep, they're gone. But let's talk about some of the lesser coaches that are gone. Dotson, do you want to take those?
Yeah, sure. The other four coaches who have been taken out, Pat Shurmur, who was pretty much expected after the new president came in at Cleveland, Chan Gailey, who has kind of been on and off the hot seat his entire time there, Ken Whisenhunt, ever since going to the Super Bowl, not much help there, and Romeo Crennel. They wanted him so badly to stay after he took over as interim last year, and now they have the number one draft pick, and he won't be there to make that draft pick. I think the one that surprised me the most out of that is Romeo Crennel, just because it is his first year there.
Yeah, I actually thought that Romeo Crennel did an admirable job keeping that team together despite the bad situation there with Javon Belcher. What do you think on that one, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously he had a very bad year. The whole organization had an awful year. But 2-14, okay, that is bad. But after 1 year, you axe the guy. That's not how you build stability in the program, especially with all the other stuff going on. I just don't see how this benefits the organization at all.
Great. You make a great point there, Alex. The fact that you can't build stability when you're only there for 1 year. Pat Shurmur in Cleveland, only there for 2 years. How can you really do anything? I think that coaches are getting fired way too quickly. It's win or gone, but I think it's happening way too quickly. You don't even have time to implement your system that quickly.
I would have to agree with you on that, Dotson, especially in the case of Lovie Smith. Now, granted, Lovie Smith has been there for quite a while, but this guy was judged way too prematurely, and he wasn't given a chance to basically bring the Bears back to the team that they could have become.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. I mean, that is ridiculous. Did the Pittsburgh Steelers give up on Bill Cowher when he had those 3 bad years? He won 7-9, 6-10, and 9-7. They didn't fire him. What did? They actually signed him. So you can't. I think a lot of GMs, a lot of owners like to push the panic button right after they have a bad year or go through a bad stretch there. You can't get rid of a coach unless you know you have someone better coming in. So,
right.
As far as the Bears goes, and even the Eagles, I would have to wait and see who they bring in next to really make my full opinion on if it was the right move to get rid of Smith and Reed. So, but right now, I really disagree with it. I don't see it. I don't see how you build stability.
Well, along with these coaches that were fired, there are also a number of general managers that were fired. And what's interesting to note is some of the general managers I really believe deserved to be fired, such as the Jets firing Tannenbaum. Tannenbaum was basically the ringmaster of a 3-ring Barnum and Bailey circus with Rex Ryan as chief clown number 1. You also have Rod Graves, who was fired from Arizona, A.J. Smith, of course, being fired from San Diego, and, of course, Cleveland ridding themselves of Tom Heckert. Your thoughts on that, Dotson?
Yeah, we also have the Jaguars fired their GM, Gene Smith, and it's possible that the Chiefs will get rid of their GM, Scott Pioli. We're still unsure at this point, but in terms of all the GMs, I don't see really any problem with any of them going. The only thing I would say is if you're going to get rid of Tannenbaum, I wonder how you don't get rid of Rex Ryan, who's who's been as much of the ringmaster, and he really is a clown out there. That was a very great analogy. He's been the bigger issue even than Tannenbaum in my mind, so I'm kind of surprised with that decision. But I think all the GMs that have lost their job, I think it's all been warranted.
Well, to provide more insight on why the Jaguars GM is out now, it is, from everything I'm reading, all the websites, everything, all the information I'm gathering, is that Shad Khan, the Jaguars owner, was prepared to get rid of anyone who would kind of oppose his decision to bring in Tim Tebow. And from what I'm reading and hearing, the Jaguars GM coaches, they really don't want him there, but Khan wants him there desperately. So I actually saw that coming. I think a lot of other people saw that coming. And honestly, if this was any other franchise than the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would disagree with it. But since the Jaguars need a lot of fan support and they need that media circus just to get fans into the seats, I have no problem with it.
Let's talk a little bit about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville, before Mr. I believe his name is Shahid Khan. Mr. Khan is he's a ringmaster of himself. He's the type of guy. He's a promotional type of guy. He's not a real down to earth NFL owner in the ilk of a Paul Brown or in the ilk of a Dan Rooney. Okay, this is a guy that is a showman, and he has basically bought a team that is at the bottom of the list on fan support. They cannot sell games out in Jacksonville. So what's he going to do? He's going to bring in Tim Tebow. He wants Tim Tebow in the worst way because Tim Tebow is a Jacksonville darling.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly. I think even Khan knows he's not even that great of a quarterback. It's just surviving now. I mean, it's sad, I know, but it's true. So I mean,
it's all about selling tickets.
Yeah, and if he wants to keep that franchise from going to L.A., he needs to sell tickets, and there's no better way than bringing in a hometown hero in somebody so special as Tim Tebow. That's all he does is sell tickets.
Well, if that's the case, Mike Mularkey better learn the triple option pretty quickly down there because he'll be out in his year too once Tim Tebow doesn't produce.
Don't get that to start on his triple option.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? Let's get started on that triple option. One coach in particular who we're hearing as a big possibility to take one of these spots is Chip Kelly from Oregon, and he runs an option offense, a spread, high-octane offense where they run that zone read big time. Do you think that his high-octane system will work in an NFL system?
I think so. I really do. You take a look what John Fox did in Denver when he had Tim Tebow. John Fox was wily enough to basically go and use that spread offense, and guess what? They won with that, even with the limited personnel that he had, especially with Tebow at quarterback. But he was able to use the players accordingly with that triple option. Yes, Chip Kelly can win. Yes, if the Wildcat can work, the triple option can work as well.
You know, I think most fans always thought, a college offense couldn't exist in the NFL. You often hear the phrase, you can't run the option because your quarterback and running back will both get destroyed. The NFL players are too fast. The defensive players are too fast, and the offensive players aren't fast enough. But I think we've seen these last few years that, there is more speed going in the NFL. And the Seahawks, it's not really a college offense, but they do have the spread thing going on. And I think it can work. I don't know if I would necessarily build my franchise around it. It's a risk. It's either going to work out really well or really bad. So whoever's willing to take the risk on Chip Kelly, more power to them. But they got to be aware it could fail big time fast. So
also look at this though, guys. That who would Chip Kelly go and coach? Cleveland, Buffalo, Chicago, San Diego. They all have pocket passers. Arizona doesn't have any quarterback. Kansas City really doesn't have any stellar quarterback. Other than Philadelphia, who has, you could put in like Vic, who's getting old and is even more fragile, who has glass for bones, there's really no running quarterback good enough that is going to be able to run a Chip Kelly system unless you draft somebody, and there really is nobody out there worth drafting this year. The quarterback class is extremely weak.
Also, I mean, let's say if he did take over the Browns, being in that kind of league with the Steelers defense, the Ravens defense, the Bengals are coming along, could that kind of offense really exist in the AFC North? I don't think so. That's what I'm trying to say, Dawson and Gray. I think it's just all the stars have to align for Chip Kelly and his offense to work in the NFL. And right now, I just think it's too big of a risk.
Well,
somebody will give it the chance, though. Somebody will give it the chance.
And you have to remember this here, too, as well. Back in the 1980s, the West Coast offense was a novelty very much like the way the spread offense is today. But every team right now has some version of the West Coast offense, including Pittsburgh at this time frame.
Yeah, and it's worked. It survived. I mean, there was a time when shotgun was considered absolutely insane. You give it another 5 to 10 years and you'll see more people with running mobile quarterbacks who are leaving the star defender unblocked so that the quarterback can just make the read every time. You'll see more than half the teams doing that within the next 10 years, I'll bet.
And I'll bet you dollars to donuts, there are second-string quarterbacks right now that is their strength.
Well, even beyond that, the second-string quarterback, yes, is going to have to know how to do that because you have to prepare to play against a Cam Newton or a Robert Griffin. So your second-string, third-string guys are going to be more that way. Even that Thad Lewis, the reason he was on the Cleveland Browns organization in their practice squad, I'll guarantee it, was to simulate a Cam Newton.
Yeah, there you go. Almost a Wildcat type option.
Exactly.
Dotson and I were talking about if anybody can salvage Kevin Cobb, it's Andy Reid.
And he has Fitzgerald down there, too.
Well, Cobb and Fitzgerald have already been down there. That's one story. The fact that Cobb was with Philadelphia, he did all right, well, better than all right, really, when he was in Philadelphia. That's going to be his sales pitch, is Andy Reid is going to go in there saying, I made Kevin Cobb a star, I can keep him a star, and we don't have to worry about trying to get another quarterback. That's going to be a sales pitch, and I think he's going to win pretty easily with it.
Andy Reid developed three receivers in Philadelphia that were no-names and made them into big-time receivers. Just look what he's going to do with somebody like a Fitzgerald out there.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think it's a good fit there. Honestly, if I'm the Eagles, I wouldn't have gotten rid of him at all. I know he's had a bad few years. And then again, it goes down to the whole stability thing. So we'll see who the Eagles bring in to replace Andy Reid. But I just think it's just such a good fit there for Andy Reid and the Arizona Cardinals. I think Reid's too good of a coach not to be in the NFL. Now, he's also interviewing City Chiefs. That'd be a good fit too, I think. But I think Reid and the Cardinals both, I think, want each other and know they fit the best. So I'd be very shocked if Reid doesn't end up in the desert.
And he's not the only coach, I think, that's been fired that's going to find another job. I think Norv Turner finds another job. I'm going to guess probably Chicago. They're very similar styles there. I also think Lovie Smith finds another job. I can see him heading up to Buffalo and trying to salvage a good defensive staff that they have, but just not the performance that they're expecting. Do you see maybe a Ken Wisenhunt or a Romeo Crennel? Do they have any chance maybe of getting another head coaching job in the NFL this year?
I don't really see that happening this year, especially with Romeo Crennel. He has documented poor clock management skills. Ken Wisenhunt basically laid a huge egg with the inability to develop any type of quarterback situation in Arizona and was very public about it. Actually, I think Chan Gailey has proven himself to be a worthy coach. I think the only thing that caused Chan Gailey's downfall was the fact that he stood behind Fitzpatrick out there. And Fitzpatrick, after he got his payday, ended up becoming a very lackluster quarterback.
I completely agree. I think Ken Wisenhunt, I actually think the Steelers should axe Todd Haley already and bring back Ken Wisenhunt. Will that happen? I don't know. I know Rooney said there will be some changes. But I think Ken Wisenhunt as a head coach really didn't work out, the way he was hoping, the way the Cardinals were hoping. He had one decent year. We went to the Super Bowl, and the year after that, okay. But other than that, I think he's kind of shown that he really might not be head coaching material. But I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. I think the Steelers should bring him home.
You have to remember one thing, though, about Pittsburgh and the Haleys. Todd Haley has a pedigree. His dad, Dick Haley, was director of player personnel during the Steeler years, and Todd, of course, was the golden child, the ball boy that hometown boy made good. So Pittsburgh being a very loyal type of team, especially loyal to pedigree itself, I see Haley staying on board as the offensive coordinator for at least another year.
Let's keep talking about coordinators. Talk about the coordinators who are actually, well, coordinators right now, but may have a chance to become a head coach. They're talking about the young Shanahan out there with Washington, that he could get an interview for a job. Jay Gruden from Cincinnati, Bruce Arians, who was the interim head coach for the Colts all year. Do any of them get a head coaching job, do you think?
I think Bruce Arians could definitely get a head coaching job with San Diego. I hear that San Diego is very much interested in what he's able to do, and especially with the Phillip Rivers out there, and especially with the receiving core and the running core that they've got out there, this would be an offensive dream come true for Bruce Arians to come out there to San Diego and take the Chargers.
How did the Steelers get rid of him again? I don't know, but he did a great job in Indianapolis. I know some people just aren't good fits in certain places. Maybe Arians just wasn't a good fit in Pittsburgh, but you can't help but wonder how the Steelers feel about letting him go. But I do agree with you, Greg. I think Arians will get a head coaching job somewhere. I think San Diego would be a great place for him.
Also, what's interesting to note is Sperano, the offensive coordinator, was fired from the Jets. I see somebody like Ken Wisenhunt going to the Jets.
Absolutely. If the Steelers don't try to pick him up, like Alex said, I think that's definitely a spot. I see Jay Gruden possibly ending up with Cleveland if Chip Kelly does not end up there. I think Gruden just is a great fit for them there. There's talk, though, that Bruce Arians might be the one to stay in Indianapolis and that Chuck Pagano might be the one who's let go. I don't know about that, but that's what some reports are coming out of Indianapolis right now.
I don't see that happening. As a matter of fact, both of those coaches may just stay in Indianapolis for another year or so. And then, depending upon where Indianapolis goes in the playoffs, you might see within another year or so Bruce Arians or Pagano going somewhere. But I think right now the love affair between Pagano and Arians and the Colts is too strong to wedge any of these guys free.
I agree. Now, how about some of the coaches who have been out of the game for a while? You got John Gruden. You got Bill Cowher. You got Mike Holmgren, who said he would listen to offers. I personally don't see any of those three finding a job anywhere this year. I think they're all too happy with where they are. Well, Gruden and Cowher, for that matter. Does Holmgren get picked anywhere, maybe? Or do Gruden and Cowher have a choice? What do you think, Alex? Is there any chance for those three?
No, I think Cowher's completely happy where he's at. Who wouldn't be? Look, not a high-pressure job, great salary, still a big figure in the NFL. He'd have to be kind of crazy to leave, but if, maybe if a situation presented himself down the road, great, with a great franchise quarterback, a lot of money, a good chance to win, maybe he'll think about coming back, but I really don't see Cowher leaving anytime soon. I would expect maybe John Gruden would be more likely to get back into coaching, only because we all know how much of a competitor he is. He's so fiery, he loves the game, but also at the same time, he has a great job too. So I think both of those guys are long shots, but if I had to choose one, John Gruden would probably be the most likely one to land a job somewhere.
I would disagree with you on that, Alex, only because the fact that John Gruden as a coach never really achieved that much. Yeah, he went to the Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, okay? And he had a great tenure with Oakland, but he never really developed the quarterbacks for either of these teams to the extent that he could have, nor did he develop the offenses to the point where he could have. I think this is a guy that basically I think he's got attention deficit disorder, perhaps. He's an intense guy, and he's extremely knowledgeable, and I think it would be a tremendous disservice for him to leave the broadcasting booth, because I really believe he's the heir apparent to John Madden.
I don't know how you can say that he hasn't accomplished much. I mean, think about it. He was essentially traded to the Buccaneers, to the from the Oakland Raiders to the Buccaneers for a first and second round draft pick in 2002, a first rounder in 2003, another second rounder in 2004. Those are 4 high draft picks plus cash to get a coach. And now he's out of the game. Somebody's going to offer him not only the head coaching job, somebody's going to offer him the GM job, and that's how you're going to get one of these big names back, is by giving him both the head coach and GM job. And we have 3, maybe 4 openings if that's possible. So
I could see Gruden as a GM. I can't see him as a coach.
If he comes back, it'll have to be as both. He will be coach and GM. There's no way he would otherwise. And believe me, somebody's going to put it on the table for him. I think San Diego definitely does. Now, if they don't want to go old school, let's go new school. We talked about Chip Kelly. Are there any other college coaches out there that you might see making the step up to the NFL?
Actually, we brought up a name in our prior discussions. It's Kirk Ferentz out of Iowa. Kirk Ferentz, I think, would lend himself quite nicely to a team like Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that if you do see Ferentz move up, and this is the time that it'll happen because, well, Iowa's in their downfall, if there's a time for him to leave, I mean, he's actually the 3rd longest tenured coach in the NCAA right now with his team. So, I mean, surprise or not, the fact that they're in a downfall, this is the time to go. If Scott Pioli stays the GM of the Chiefs, I'm telling you right now, Kirk Ferentz will be the next head coach. They have been tight for years, been friends for a long time. I see Kirk Ferentz coaching in Kansas City next year.
You know, I'm kind of wondering if Nick Saban's going to come back to the NFL. I know a lot of people say, why would you leave Alabama? He's the king of college football. But, you know, it's tempting. It's always tempting to return to the NFL, to, you know, the glamour, the big cities, you know, compared to coaching in Alabama on a college campus. You know, the facilities aren't as great. It's there. I don't know if he should take the job as the Cleveland Browns coach. I know there's a lot of speculation, a lot of heavy speculation about it. But for some reason, my gut's telling me, if not this year, he's going to want to eventually make the jump. You know, a competitor, they want to achieve more than they already have. I mean, what else is left for Nick Saban?
You listen to his wife, and you can tell right there. You know, gentlemen out there, you listen to your girl, you listen to your wife. And the wife was saying in an interview that it just doesn't seem fun for him. The appreciation isn't there. The desire isn't there because of exactly that. He needs a challenge. He needs to feel appreciated. Everything feels so expected that it's almost too much pressure to win a game. And he wants the challenge of being appreciated by winning games when he's not expected to win them. That's why I think you do see Nick Saban, especially if they win the national championship 3 out of 4 years, you'll see him jump back up to the NFL without much question in my mind.
Well, and I think also the fact that Pete Carroll, who was unsuccessful in his first bid, became a very successful coach at USC, got his hands a little dirty, ended up going up to Seattle, and all of a sudden is achieving a decent modicum of success up in Seattle. I really think Saban can probably follow the same types of footpath there and be able to be successful. You have to have the right organization to do this. And I think with Saban, very much like John Gruden, this is a guy that needs to be in charge on both levels, both as a general manager as well as a head coach.
Yeah, I agree. I agree absolutely. Now, the other coach in the national championship game, Brian Kelly, we're hearing people say that people would prefer him over Chip Kelly going up there. I don't see Brian Kelly leaving after just 3 years with Notre Dame. I know he did the same at Cincinnati, but it's a little bit different trying to jump to the pros. I don't think anybody's going to give him that chance quite this soon. Maybe that's just me, though, Alex. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's just some coaches that just don't seem to be like NFL coaches. You know, it's just not in their blood. They'd rather recruit college kids. You know, someone like Bill Cowher, a lot of people thought he'd go to the NCAA. Do you really see Bill Cowher sitting in a recruit's home telling him to come to a school? No, but you could see a coach like Brian Kelly doing that. So, there's also not enough smoke for me to think that Brian Kelly would go to the NFL. But then again, it is the NFL for all the same reasons I've been mentioning. It's possible, but I just can't see it.
I actually do see Chip Kelly going to the NFL, though. I mean, his high-octane offense he has up in Oregon fits quite nicely. Obviously, we talked about this earlier in our broadcast about the option offense. Chip Kelly is going to land somewhere. Where? We're not exactly certain yet, but I really believe, Cleveland, I guess, is very high on him right now, except that Cleveland doesn't have a quarterback that could fit Chip Kelly's system. But I do see Chip Kelly making that jump quite nicely.
Well, all right, we're forgetting the big name, though, and I say the big name because he has been a pro coordinator, and he has been a college head coach. And now the rumors are coming out there that Bill O'Brien might be jumping ship from Penn State to take a head coaching job if one is offered. Your thoughts, Alex?
Well, yeah, I mean, the only reason I didn't mention him right now is I thought we might be saving him for a later podcast. But, yeah, he would probably be the most likely college coach to go to the NFL only because that's where he came from. It's kind of in his blood. He came from the top NFL program, the New England Patriots, and he got his head coaching opportunity at Penn State University. He's done a really great job at Penn State. Now, there's a few months ago there was rumors that he might listen down the road if there's an NFL offer. Okay, no one would blame him. But now you're hearing that he really wants out, and he wants out now. It's kind of like, okay, so much for being there for your kids and being the glue for your program. It's kind of sad in my opinion. And, I was really one of the guys who wanted Bill O'Brien to come to Penn State because he worked in a great offense. But I think it's just too much smoke to say that, he's going to come back or that he wants to come back. He might come back, but if he comes back, it's going to be because he doesn't get that offer from an NFL franchise. So
I want to disagree with you here on this, Alex. I see Bill O'Brien as a class act. He was a class act from day one when he took the job at Penn State. He kept the team together. He's demonstrated that they can win. This is a guy that has his career's made at Penn State. He would have to be insane to leave Penn State at this particular time frame. And especially when you have the governor in your back pocket right now going against the NCAA, I really think O'Brien would be making a horrible, horrible move to leave to go to the NFL. I really think that his future is set as a college coach, and I don't think he's going to make that jump.
You're missing my point. The point is he wants out. That's been established. He wants to go to the NFL. That's what's bugging me. And, if this was 5 or 6 years down the road, I wouldn't care. But, you're going to leave the program after only 1 year, after telling your kids you're going to be there for them. What happened to loyalty?
He said right when the sanctions came out, I'm here with Penn State for the long run. He knew about the sanctions. I mean, I talked about this on Sports Radio 1240 today. You can check out that podcast as well. I said right then and there, don't worry about that part because he knew the sanctions were coming because it was built into his contract. So don't worry about that. That's all smoke and mirrors and all speculation. All I know is that, yes, Bill O'Brien is going to put a feeler out there, but if I was an NFL franchise, I'm not getting Bill O'Brien. 1 year as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, not enough. 1 year as a head coach, when he got out-coached in at least 3 games there at Penn State, not enough for me to want to hire him as my NFL franchise coach. I'm sorry, but at this point, we don't know enough about what he can be as a head coach to hire him.
Yeah, I actually think he will stay at Penn State, but not because it'll be on his own terms. He'll stay at Penn State because he's not getting another job offer. Now, I don't think he's going to go to another college or coach. Now, and I'm not saying he doesn't like Penn State or care about his kids, but the kids are so invested in you. And just everything that happened at Penn State, just all the chaos and this, and like you said, he knew about sanctions. He has to be an idiot not to know that sanctions are going to come. I mean, come on. That's common sense. So I think he's using that as an excuse. You probably will see him back at Penn State, but Penn State fans should be aware in the next few years, as soon as he gets an opportunity, he's gone.
Well, let me just say this. Whether it's Bill O'Brien, whether it's Chip Kelly, Nick Saban, or any one of these coaches, college or pro, Let me just say that loyalty to a team is officially dead.
Oh,
There is no loyalty to a college, no loyalty to your coach and to your players in the NFL. It's absolutely dead, and that's why we're talking about coaches getting fired after 1 or 2 years or jumping ship after 1 or 2 years, and frankly, I'm sick of it.
Well, unless your name is Barry Alvarez, and Barry Alvarez did a very, very nice thing for the University of Pittsburgh when he basically stated that, no, Pitt's coach is not coming back to Wisconsin.
Well, I agree. And Barry Alvarez, yeah, his friend got Paul Chris the job. He knew people that were able to pull strings and get Paul Chris the job. But, Paul Chris even said the timing wasn't right. So if this was 5 years down the road, Paul Chris would have jumped. I actually think if Barry Alvarez offered him to go to Wisconsin this year, I think he would have left. So I think that was more of the athletic director than Paul Chris himself. And I'm not bashing Paul Chris. I'm not saying he's not loyal, blah, blah, blah. But like Dawson said, you just worry, in today's world, you just worry about yourself. And I do agree with that in a way, but also I disagree with it. So for the most part, it's dead.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I just had to throw that canard in there about Barry Alvarez, only because of the fact that in this day and age where everybody is jumping ship and trying to save their own skin, Alvarez actually took the high road, and it was actually quite appreciated. So.
Yeah, well, remember when we used to have coaches that had been at universities for 20, 30, even longer years, like a Joe Paterno, like a Bobby Bowden? There are only 5 coaches out there that have been at their current school prior to 2000. 5. And one of them is the coach of Troy, who we don't even hear of. The other one's Mac Brown, Mark Stoops of Oklahoma, and Kirk Ferentz, who now we're saying is probably going to head up to Kansas City, and then Frank Beamer in Virginia Tech. And we've heard his name in the NFL discussions before, too. So I don't get it. I don't get why the loyalty to a school and loyalty to a team is so dead anymore. I mean, we thought it was crazy Andy Reid's been there for 14 years, and that's like 5 years longer than anybody else. I just don't get it.
Well, I think in Andy Reid's case, the reason why he's gone is the fact that he just had too many negative situations occur, and it's just not a healthy environment for him to be in. I mean, this was a guy who lost his son at training camp. This was a guy who's both of his sons have battled drug addiction issues. This is a guy that had so many things going on in his personal life in Philadelphia. It was very difficult for him to separate his personal life from his professional life. And then, to boot, you have a team right now that is underachieving, and it was just a bad situation all around. I think it was Andy Reid's time to pick up and move on. But Andy is too proud of a guy to basically say that. He had to be fired because of the situation. And that's why Andy's gone.
Well, gentlemen, I think that about wraps up our discussion on the coaching carousel. And wow, it is a fast merry-go-round out there. And honestly, I don't think we're quite done yet. We're going to see coordinators leaving, especially from some of these playoff teams very shortly. And who knows what lays ahead in the NFL. All we know is that the playoffs are coming. We'll have our playoff podcast ready to go very shortly as well. So, for Alex Glaverson and Greg Mad Scientist Fichero, I'm James Dawson of 3SN. Have a good night.